This is your co-host, Wes Lyon. As always, with me, Dr. Scott Menaker. Scott, welcome back.
Hey there, Wes. How you doing today?
Oh, fantastic. We got a great episode today. It's called Don't Judge the Book by Its Cover. There's an old Corey Smith song that I think is named by this too.
Probably a lot of country songs that deal with it, but
I think that one has to do with I think dating, so probably a whole different story.
Yeah, we're not going to go there on our podcast. That'll be a different one.
No, but we do want to go there as far as what we're really after is just patience in judging the patience.
Yeah. So it's I think back, God, this is probably, I can't be in practice not even a year. And Friday morning, I was working Fridays at the time. That was one of my days. My partner at the time wasn't there. I was an associate. And this woman shows up Friday morning, 8:00, sauced. I mean, she is 2 drinks or more in.
So you were open till 8 p.m.
No, this was 8 in the morning.
Okay.
A little slow there. But 8:00 in the morning, when you walk in the room, you can smell her. And you're just, immediately your thoughts start going, this is not going to be good. Well, she's broken number 7, her lateral incisor. She's broken this tooth to the gum line, and she's shown up for me to help her. And, she's embarrassed. She's covering her mouth, and she's embarrassed to talk, and she's just not sure where to go. And so slowly we figured out, that she was going to need a root canal on this tooth, that she needed to have a post and core and crown. And that was before I even looked at the rest of her mouth, which I didn't get to do that day. So I quickly figured out a way to do a quick temporary, that was going to hold her for the weekend, probably put her on an antibiotic, because she was ready just to get out the door from the moment she walked in. And I'm young, and I'm probably thinking, she's never coming back. Maybe I'm hoping she's never coming back. I don't know. But she comes back the next week to let me start treatment on this tooth. And we did a root canal and made her a nicer temporary crown. And she finally let me look at the rest of her mouth, and her mouth is just shattered. I mean, broken teeth, decayed teeth, the alcohol that she had that morning, and she had it the next week. She showed up probably still drunk, or still drinking, was to mask the odor from her mouth and the periodontal disease. Well, slowly, I got her to open up a little bit and realized that she was just so embarrassed about the condition of her mouth. She was managing a little small advertising group, about 10 people, and she was embarrassed beyond recognition. She had been beaten and abused as a wife, and was now divorced, and had gotten remarried and married a very nice gentleman who was meticulous about his mouth, and she was the opposite, and she just didn't know where to begin. Well, we slowly set a path, and over time, I can't imagine how many root canals I did and how many crowns and deep cleanings that we did for her, and she really had a beautiful smile at the end, became an amazing referral source for me. And if I had judged her by the initial when she walked in my door, I would have never seen her. And we became very good friends until they moved away. And it was just one of those things that kind of gave me an early boost that said, be very careful about when people come into your office, don't judge them. Whether it's about money, what they look like, who's going to buy dentistry, who's going to go for better treatment. Mm-hmm. And it really kind of set a good path for me. I didn't really realize it till probably later on in life that she really kind of set me up for success when it came to that.
Yeah, it's funny. I see it all the time. And when I look at profitability of practices, areas that you would consider lower income oftentimes have much higher profitable dental practices. And I looked at it, I had a little bit different view. I didn't quite get that great experience, but I always, I tell people to try to practice outside the city. I think we've gone over this a few times on this
Sure.
podcast that closer you get to the city center, you end up with more insurance potentially. And those higher incomes or the people that look like they have the money don't always go for the treatment that's needed. You might think, hey, great, this person might buy some cosmetic treatment or do something. And, sometimes they just don't. You don't want to judge anybody walking through the door. And then other times you get, the electrician comes through the door, the plumber comes through the door, and they're cash payers. And they don't really argue much on the treatment a lot of the times. I think it's a crowd of people don't realize they're fantastic patients. They're used
Yeah,
to talk.
you've just got to build that. You're trying to find that patient that values what you're doing, and you just don't know what it is. And I found over my career, people who had a lot of money probably didn't follow through with my recommendations as much as people who were kind of, paycheck to paycheck or just, they were just getting by. They didn't have $200,000 jobs. They were working in hospitals and maybe not nurses they were just kind of people sometimes struggling, but who valued wanting to take care of something, a part of their health and their mouth, and they could do it. And sometimes they would say, all right, we're going to do this year, we're going to do this, and next year we're going to do this. And versus, and some people are out there, telling you, well, if they don't buy into it, then you need to move on from them. And I just kind of took a different approach in our practice, that we were going to treat people as they came in. And if they wanted our certain level of treatment and they were willing to pay our price, and I had a fee for service practice, so you were paying more. I wasn't just an insurance type of practice. We wanted to allow them to feel welcome where we were at. And sometimes it took a little longer to get there. Maybe longer than they wanted and than I wanted, but you just went, hey, listen, we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah, I kind of see it from the other end, and I get a good laugh. I think I've finally gotten my wife to come around and realize this, that, just because they make a lot doesn't mean their checking account has a higher balance than the person making $20 an hour down the road. Oftentimes, it's actually the complete opposite. I always chuckle when we see something, I tell my wife, I don't look at younger women or something, but throw me by some storage units, like an RV parking lot. And I sit there and I'm like, man, there is somebody there that's making a ton of money. And I guarantee you that person making a ton of money probably shows up in the worst clothes in a 30-year-old pickup truck. And you'd never know he was a multimillionaire.
Right.
But I know the numbers behind, RV lots and storage units. And I'm like, yeah, that's somebody that makes money, but it's unlikely that person that went and bought that land and did that with it. It's unlikely they care about nice clothes.
Right. And so it's be careful before you judge. And when you're meeting these patients, I just always like to ask, so what is it that I can do for you? And just stop talking and listen. Don't prejudge. So if they come in and they've got a broken tooth, then it's going to take a root canal and a crown. Don't look at them and go, yeah, I think they're going to, I'm just going to send you over to get this tooth taken out. Now, if they need to get the tooth taken out, if it's not savable, great. But if there's a really good likelihood this tooth can be maintained, then offer them that treatment. Give them a couple options, but don't judge them by what your premonitions and what your first step, what you think.
Yeah, I can name two examples not related to dentistry and just how it makes people feel, whether or not they care, and how you make them feel is going to be a whole lot more important than probably what comes out of your mouth, right? They're there for a problem. They know there's a problem. If you are hesitant to deliver that treatment or hesitant to talk about the price, they will sense that you think they can't afford it, right? It's human nature. So we had two.
And I always used to say to people, listen, I'm going to give you a couple different options. And I don't really care which one you choose. Now, in my mind, I'm in the back, without saying it, I want them to maybe do it, but I'm not walking their shoes. There was a point early in my career, I didn't have a whole lot of money, and I was making tough choices, and there were things I'd wanted to do, and I said, not today, I can't do it. I didn't want to say that out loud. So sometimes I'd say, I can't do that today, but I'll come back to that. So I think you just have to not judge, give them the options of what they can do and not do, listen to them. If they say, I really want to try and save this too, what can we do? Then sometimes I might have my financial person work with them. But I'm at least listening to them, because I've had people come in and go, take it out. I go, well, no, and sometimes it really wasn't that bad. And they go, no, take it out. I'm just not doing it. Okay. This is not what I would do, but this is, it's your choice, but, do my best to talk them out of it. So everybody's a little different. Sometimes it makes sense and it doesn't make sense. But we're just trying to say, be very careful with your judgment clouding what your treatment planning and what you think is, an option for them, and then let them decide.
Yeah, it's really, the way you treat people will probably be remembered more than how much the bill was, what they had to pay. So my sister got married, probably 3 or 4 years ago. Her husband is a tobacco farmer, and like the guy can go to the bank and get more money than we can imagine. He is just a lend, yes, check, yes.
Right.
We will lend him money. And he's very young. So he's going to get the ring, and he goes to my mom's jeweler, and, they brought out some pretty dinky rings because he's a tobacco farmer. The guy probably doesn't own a polo, probably goes in there, hands all, everything just messed up. And, he's sitting there. He's like, oh, I want to see that one. They're real hesitant to give it to him. And, my mom had to call him. She was so embarrassed, and he didn't care. He thought it was funny. He's sitting there like, how are you going to pay? Do you need to finance? And he's just like, what are you talking about? I brought in a sack of cash.
Right. He's ready to pay.
Yeah. What do you mean? In his mind, he's like, he would never think to buy a wedding or an engagement ring on a credit card. He's literally, no. We're going to count this out in front of you, and I can buy whatever ring I want in this store. But yeah, so that not only tarnished his opinion of that store, but I think he lost, that store lost a few customers.
Right.
He ended up buying it from him, but lost a few customers. Because my mom's embarrassed because, he got treated like he couldn't pay. And, I kind of laughed because a few weeks after that, I had the complete opposite experience. I'd been working on my truck in the morning, and my father-in-law had bought me a pair of Allen Edmonds, and I needed to exchange them for a different size. I go,
You don't know, Allen Edmonds, very nice, classical, but very nice and expensive shoes that'll last forever. But
yeah, they're probably $400 or $500 shoes. And I'm out there, and I'm in my work boots, my work jeans, which have permanent stains on them, and a white t-shirt. I have a few of them that also have oil stains on them. So, I look like nobody to help. I walk in there, it's busy as can be. And this lady, she's, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I've got this customer and this one. I'll be right with you. What's your name? And, get her name. And I had a client that needed some. So I walked outside, called the client, like 4 more people showed up in the store. And I'm like, oh gosh, it's going to be forever. And, everyone else is in a sport coat. And there I am. I'm kind of feeling stupid at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think you're wearing Allen Edmonds with your work clothes. But
no, I'm sitting there, looking like an idiot in the Allen Edmonds store on a Saturday morning in a very nice part of Charlotte. But oh no, she remembered my name, exactly who I was. And I'm so sorry, sir, but this gentleman was next, and just right after it. And I will only ever deal with her at Allen Edmonds again. And like 100%, I'm sitting there, and she's like, hey, these ones are on sale. I'm like, my father-in-law got me one pair because truth is I really need to get rid of every dress shoe I have. They're all 15 years old. It's like, let me get 2 or 3 more. And that is forever. I just email her directly at Allen Edmonds, and that's it. And how you treat somebody, though, regardless of what they are, because you'll get a lot. This isn't any business, not just dentistry. You get a lot of tire kickers that look like they can pay. Right. I'm sure you've experienced that.
Sure. Oh, no doubt. Yeah. They're coming in, and you get fooled by them. And it's just, you've got to figure out and again, the quickest, what they want and what they're looking for. And if they're showing up into my office, I always viewed it as they're here for the best dental care that's available. And I'm going to offer that to them. If they choose, if they can't afford it, again, that's not my problem, but I don't want to start cutting out the options available to them because I just don't know their circumstance. And sometimes, and I've had people, they'll get care credit, they'll borrow it, they'll go to the bank, they'll borrow from family to get what they need because it's important to them. And you never know what they're kind of, what they're going through in life. Sometimes there's things and I had one patient suffering with kind of some cancer kind of back behind her eye. And she would come in and we would do some things and sometimes in the middle of treatment, I mean, we'd almost have to literally stop. And she's like, no, keep going. And I knew she was not feeling well. And I said, what I'm doing doesn't matter. This is just go home. I'll call your husband. I'll get one of my staff to take you home. But you don't have to be here, because their struggles, we just don't know what people are struggling and what they're going through or their circumstances. So we're just, as you're getting into your career, into your life, slow down. We'll talk a lot about that, my two favorite words, but slow down and listen and learn and just take it in and careful about prejudging others.
So to put this into practice, I think the first thing is just don't judge. So when you sit down with them, the first thing you always would ask a patient is, what are you here for, right?
And I just used to turn him, what is it that I can do for you? Not what are you here for? Because I said, what can I do for you? And they go, some people go, I just want my teeth clean. Now, and then I would then follow that up with, now, if I find that that's great, we'll take care of that for you. If I find that there are any other problems, I am going to bring those to your attention. And they go, oh yeah, that's fine. And sometimes they're like, I just didn't want to stop when someone says, I just want my teeth clean. Because sometimes they don't know what they want other than they're either pissed off at somebody else, or they're embarrassed about something, or they're afraid, or there could be lots of reasons. And so, just make it. You feel some. To me, the biggest word is empathy in terms of as you're listening to people.
I never thought of that one, but when I went to the dentist after my first 3 crowns got put in and my next 3 got recommended, and all of a sudden I realized I might have needed 0 crowns, and I'm super embarrassed about the whole thing. I'm getting a new dentist, and I absolutely did not share with him that I was there for a second opinion. I was like, I don't want to tell him, it's in Charlotte, and I went a mile up the road. I'm like, I'm sure these 2 dentists know each other. I don't want to sit there and tell them that I'm there. I was embarrassed. What if I do need 3 crowns? And I'll never forget he looks at me, drops everything, goes, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to offend you. I just, it's just a filling. And I sat there, I was like, no. I'm sorry if my face said something else. It's the 3 crowns you didn't recommend.
Right.
And, then he spent 10 minutes with me just going through what was on the x-ray, why I was made to believe I needed a crown. I didn't. And that was just, whole life-changing experience. I like your word, slow down, though. Right? The second you sense something, just slow down, pull it back. Say, oh, hey, let's just talk about this.
As you're telling that story, it goes to, I guess, maybe another piece here that I would say is, I offered lots of second opinions. I never threw another dentist under the bus. I might have seen some really crappy work, but I never wanted to disparage somebody. I didn't know what the circumstances, I didn't know what they were faced with at that moment in time. But I would always, and I had those people come in and go, I got recommended to have 5 crowns. And like you were explaining, I might say, well, here's why they might have suggested that. But in my opinion, in my experience, here's what I would do. And I always think of less is more. Because once I start cutting into a tooth, it's never going to be the same. I used to say, and I said this to patients a lot, nothing's going to replace what God put there. Yeah, nothing's going to be as good. So I can try and fix it, but it's not going to be the same. So I always kind of slowed down and I always said, if I would do it for my mother, I would do it for these patients. And I love my mother. So if I was willing to, if my mom walked in and needed a crown and you needed I would treat you the same way. And it just proved to be a really good philosophy that served me well. I didn't overdo things for people. I wasn't doing things for money. I wasn't trying to be busy just for the sake of being busy. I got plenty busy just doing dentistry the right way. But I treated people like family, and listened and and tried to be a confidant that they could talk to and share things with.
Now, let me, so we go through this and we're not going to judge the book by its cover. So we're going to recommend the treatment that is needed and we're not going to balk at the price of it. Now, what do you do when somebody wants to leave your practice over that? Are you upset by it?
If they want to leave because,
Let's say it was just too expensive.
no, I guess I got this philosophy through life is it's your choice. If and someone says, well, I'm going to go, and I've had people say to me, well, I'm going to get the guy down the road to go do it. I go, that's your choice. I wish you well, but should you need us down the road, we're here for you. And I had many a patient. We'll talk through some, these PPOs and all these discount plans, which I didn't take. And I would have patients say, well, my insurance changed and and I've got to go to a dentist in network. And I would always look at him and go, that's your choice. You don't have to do that. It will cost you a little more money to be here with me, but we're going to provide a level of service I don't think you're going to get, but that's your choice. And it was, Wes, it was invariable. A year later, 2 years later, they were back.
I didn't even have to ask my follow-up question, which was going to be...
They were back. And you see, and some left, and if they left, it didn't come back, I was probably better off that they went someplace else because they were going to go bust somebody's chops over money and this and that and there was never going to be a relationship.
Yeah, that's really where I was going is, when you lose somebody because inevitably somebody's going to say, you know what, that's too expensive. And they're going to go shop around or go to somebody in network over it. If you leave them graciously, they're likely to come back to you. And I love the way you put that. We're here for you. In the future, we'll be happy to bring you back as a patient.
I was having a conversation with a potential client a couple of weeks ago. And I'd spent a lot of time talking to her and her husband about how I could help them. And she was going to be potentially buying into a practice. And hadn't heard from her in a week. And I just called and said, hey, I just want to follow up, see if there's any questions or if you've made a decision. And she sent me a note and said, hey, we made a decision. We're going to have another company. We're going to use another company. Yeah, I was inside. I was probably a little pissed. Because I don't think it was the right decision, but that was hers.
And nobody likes to lose either. Let's all be honest.
That's right. Yeah. But that's going to happen in life. And so I just said to her, I sent her a note back and said, listen, I'm sorry to hear that, but I wish you all the best. I know you're getting ready to start your new career after school, and I'm here to help you if you need help down the road. And she's, she replied back, thank you so much for your gracious note. We may be talking in the future. Who knows? But I felt good because I'm wishing her well. I don't wish anybody bad luck. She made a decision at that moment in time. It was the right decision.
Well, something else I know that happens in dentistry, but I'll relate to something that happened to me was I kept getting referrals from somebody that went to a competitor and he had not ever hired me, but he called me, same thing, walked him through it and didn't pressure him and just, hey, if you ever need anything in the future, I'm here for you. Then all of a sudden I'm getting loaded up with referrals from this person. And then I call the accountant that's doing his books. I say, hey, have you heard, he keeps referring me business, but we never worked together. And as far as I know, he chose somebody else over me. And he goes, oh yeah, that didn't go well. And just, the graciousness of being respectful, being polite, making sure they had a great experience and they didn't feel any ill will towards you, even when they left. When they went and figured out that the person down the road was not what was being promised and you were, all of a sudden, they're sitting there, they're going, look, I'm there. Don't come here.
Yeah.
I made that mistake. I left Dr. Menaker and I went over here to the discount. Already did it. Trust me, don't do it. Save yourself the headache I just went through.
And then people get embarrassed for lots of different things. But yeah, but I'll kind of bring it back and kind of summarize. There's a recent story I was telling Wes, and this really kind of sums all of this up and pulls it all together. We all go out and about, and my wife and I have a nice restaurant that we go to. They know us when we walk in. We get our own little booth, but we decided to go to the bar, have a couple nice martinis, and there's a group sitting off to one side that's obviously regulars in this place, and you start to think, why are these people here? And is this the only place they got to go? What's going on in their lives? And you can judge. My wife and I don't do that, but we were thinking through. I was thinking, why are they here? And then over to the left of us are these two gentlemen having a couple drinks and having dinner, sitting next to us. And why are these guys sitting here? And then some other guy comes in and joins them, and they're chatting. And it's I'm coming in with my wife, and we're good. And what's going on? Well, the gentleman to my left then you could just overhear him as he's telling. He says, my wife passed away from cancer about 5 years ago. And this is kind of like a home for me. And so I come in here a couple times a week just to have a drink and maybe meet some friends. And then the guy next to him talked about his wife had cancer. And the other guy next to him said his wife was currently, and it just made you stop and go, be really, really careful, because you don't know what's going on in people's lives. It could be why they choose not to do dentistry, why they have no money, why they can't do what you've suggested, or why they're just upset or unhappy. You just never know. And so we'll leave you with, slow down, be careful about judging people, because you may not know the real story. And don't let that prevent you from offering people the best care that you can offer as you go through life.
Yeah, I think one last thing to add to that is when somebody's upset with you and you haven't done anything, be careful to get mad, treat them with grace. A lot of times I've discovered there's something else going on in their life that's causing an extreme amount of stress. And even if they're nasty to you, if you just give them grace and take a step back, slow down, be as nice as possible, when whatever event passes in their life, they'll never forget that. They'll understand. I was stressed out being an a-hole. I treated this dentist like crap, and gosh, they couldn't have been nicer. It's how you treat people is everything to those referrals, and everybody needs the referrals.
And on the final note, there was a motivational speaker for many, many years, a guy named Zig Ziglar. And Zig was he was probably 6'4" and just talked in his folksy way. And he used to refer to this as kicking the cat. People would just kick the cat. It wasn't the cat's fault. The cat just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. So don't kick the cat. Don't judge a book sometimes by its cover, and be good to people, and it'll serve you well as you go through your career.
Oh, definitely. Well, Scott.
Thanks, Wes. This was fun.
Thanks again. We'll see you all next week.